it's pressure from society, from your parents and friends who are just advancing with their educations and their jobs and everything, and you're still sitting with a guitar that you borrowed from somebody because you can't afford to buy it. You don't have an amp. You don't have anywhere to live. You can barely buy food. But you got this great riff, you know. I decided I didn't want to die thinking about that, what could have been, you know. I wanted to take it to the limit. And then with time, things got better. And now I'm kind of lost in it in a way, you know. I don't know, this is my reality. This is my job. So I don't know anything else then, you know. I think a lot of people are probably great singers, but what keeps them back, it's what's in their heads, if you know what I mean. For me, it was that way, confidence, you know. I've never taken lessons or anything, and I still, you know, for me, when people say that I have a wide vocal range or that I'm a great singer, I'm their favorite singer, I feel it's just whatever. I can't really take it in because I don't feel it's like that, if you know what I mean. I don't think I'm a particularly good singer. I'm just a singer in my band, if you know what I mean. I wouldn't fit in fucking Supremes. But I think the clean vocals is something I care a little bit more about these days, because I feel I'm learning all the time, you know. With the screens, I more or less can take it any further. Sorry. Do we look like we take requests? Close the door. Fucking idiot. People think I would be a stand-up comedian. I get that a lot, actually, but I don't think I'm funny, you know.
Michael's really funny on stage as well, so it's a stand-up and a show, so you get everything.
And also because I'm Swedish, and I'm not talking in my native tongue most of the shows we do, you know. I can say anything and people think it's funny, you know.
He always talks between the songs and says sort of nice things that you wouldn't imagine that he would say about his family and stuff.
So I don't think I have a particular sense of humor that would allow me to go on this separate career as a stand-up comedian. It would be embarrassing. It would be like, you know, no laughs, you know. But I like humor, if you know what I mean, and dry humor. People say that I got dry humor, which I guess is fairly true, but I don't think I'm funny. Most of the things I talk about are just, you know, metal is funny. You can say there's a lot of fun things about metal, and it's been such a macho culture since it started back in the day, and to some extent it seems like a lot of these metal bands from the past, they never made fun with their own bands or whatever, with the scene. So it's not so common. But for me, I just started talking one day. You know, we played a show and it's like, I said something. And I got a reaction. I loved it, you know. Before I barely spoke. I barely said thanks, you know, between the songs, and really shy, I think.
When he was talking personally about his life, that was really impressive. And he's so down-to-earth guy, you know. We love him.
My kind of off-stage personality is on stage these days, in a way. I'm a bit more out there, I guess, but it's the same. I'm the same, I think, in many ways, when I go on stage. And it was Devin Townsend, actually, who got me thinking about it a little bit, because I spent a lot of time with him on a tour we did together. And Devin is a good friend of mine, I guess, you know, and I love him, and he's funny. That guy's funny. And he's doing things on stage, and it kind of rubbed off a little bit on me, you know. Not trying to steal his act or anything, because that's not what it's about, but I was like, yeah, why not? I can just say what the fuck I want, you know. I own that stage for that hour or whatever it is. So I just talk shit. And sometimes it's funny, but it also happens, you know, I play in cities or countries or whatever where they don't speak English that well. And I say something which I think is hilarious. And it's just dead calm. Nobody, they're just looking at each other. It's like, this is not metal. Steven Wilson, I wouldn't say he's intimidating, you know, in that sense, but the first time I met him, he was my idol. I've been listening to his music for a long time, ever since The Sky Moves Sideways album came out in 95 or something, 94 maybe. And I loved what he was doing. And the fact that he was basically taking care of everything, you know. He was producing, recording, writing, everything pretty much. So I was very impressed with him before I even met him, of course, and I loved his music. And when I asked him to work with us, he was I was expecting him to say no, like he's beyond us or something, you know, but he was like, yeah, great. And we did this album, and of course I had a little bit of felt a little bit stressed. I wanted to impress him, you know, and I think he pretty much did, to be honest. And we're on the same wavelength musically in many ways. So I love him, you know. He's a friend of mine and a mentor and an idol. The first album, maybe a bit more special than, say, the third. The first one, I was 19, totally green, didn't know anything about anything. I was just ambitious, to say the least. And we had these monster songs, 15, 20-minute songs. And we recorded this album, it's called Orchid, at a studio in a small town called Finspång, which is where the producer lived at the time, Don Swan, who had a small studio called Gory Sound, death metal studio. And he was just doing small, minor, low-budget productions for small labels, and we were on a small label at the time, a label called Candlelight Records. And well, we just did the album, and I'd never set foot in the studio before. It was all a completely new environment for me. I was just like, wow, we got microphones and cables, and there's this mixing console. It was like a 16-channel mixing console, and quarter-inch tapes, which I don't think at the time nobody used quarter-inch tapes. And he was doing I think he mixed it down onto a VHS cassette, like recording over some old porn flick or something, you know, and then brought it for mastering, which apparently you could do with what was it called, ADATs. In those days, it was 94. And we recorded and mixed the album in 12 days, which at the time I thought that's like, it felt like a year. But looking back, I was like amazed that we could do it, you know. We cut most of it, like the drums and some of the guitars we cut live, and then just did everything really quick. And the mixing, because there was no digital things going on at the time, and there was this little 16-channel console. And to mix it, everybody needed to help out with the faders. We were crawling over each other like spiders, trying to reach our faders, and then on a cue we're supposed to fade it down or fade it up or mute it or whatever. So everybody, I think all of us, helped out, like 5 guys just crawling over this console. So it was really funny. And I also celebrated my birthday. I missed one day of mixing because I had too much to drink. I ended up vomiting for a whole day, and I missed the mixing of a song. But overall, that was just a very good, very fun experience. And I think we learned a lot from that, you know. becoming a dad is another one of those things you don't, you can't really plan for it, You change in the very moment you see your son or your daughter, Musically, I don't know if it had that much of an effect on me, to be honest. When I had my first daughter, Melinda, when my wife was pregnant, just like a couple of months before she was born, I was writing for the Ghost Reveries album. And it was just a very calm atmosphere, waiting for our child, And I was writing these songs in the meantime. So that's what I remember. But it didn't really affect the way I was writing, to be honest. It affected me more in my private life, I think. And also in awareness of me and mortality. Before I could, not that I had a death wish or anything, but I was like, you drop dead, yeah, whatever, if it happens, I wasn't afraid of it, if you know what I mean. But I am now. I want to be there for them, if you know what I mean. So and I'm also just terrified if something's going to happen to them. So I think it affects you in both a negative and a positive way. You get more aware of things that you just didn't give a fuck about before. I started giving money to charities and stuff, like Bono. But also in a negative way, in that sense that you just think, don't want people to come close to them, especially when they're infants, You're in town with a trolley and some junkie comes up and you just want to push him down before the subway train. It just feels like you're so afraid of everything. Something might happen to them or get sick or... and I am overly protective of them. And I can't see how that ever going to change. Like, they're just kids now. They're going to turn 6 and 3 this year. But when they're like teenagers, I'm thinking about that stuff. Like, fuck, I buy a gun, I just paid £446 for a record by a band called Andwellas Dream. It was shit. Didn't like it. First song was great. Rest was not good. That's the most expensive album I ever bought. That would not be it, I think. It has to be something that because I collect rare records, And some parts it's deceased and it's a bit weird and everything, and it's sometimes it has more to do with the rarity factor than if it's good or not, like Andwellas Dream. So I have to say it's not a particularly rare record, but I'm a big fan of Nick Drake. And he only did 3 albums from '69 to '72. And all of them are great. But one of them, the second one, Brighter Lighter is called, from 1970, is a rare record, fantastic record, and also the soundtrack to both my kids. Both my kids were born to that record playing in the hospital. And I have a mint condition original copy on Island of that very record. So I'll probably bring that one, But, it's horrible. It feels like they're my kids, like they're my other kids, all my records, I care so much for them. It feels like I almost want to cry thinking about it, if I could only bring one record in. Blackwater Park is, some people say it's a breakthrough record. It is, I guess, and it's a popular record. People like that album, I like it. We all enjoy those songs, and we always play songs from that record on our tour. And we also had it because it celebrated 10 years, Blackwater Park. And we had a reshoot coming out on Sony. So it kind of made sense that we're going to do it, do that album. And it's also a bit fashionable now, I think, in order to make some shows a bit more special, whatever. You pull out some old album and play the whole thing through. But I like that, personally. I don't think there's any harm in doing that stuff, And it is a good album.